Find the inverse function, inverse f of x for a, f of x equals 5 to the x, and b, f of x equals 2 log base 3 of x. So remember, inverse functions, we're basically changing the subject of the formula or of the equation. So if we start with a, we can say f of x equals 5 to the x, so we can say y equals 5 to the x. Now it's up to you. You can interchange the variables now or later. Personally, I've just always been used to doing it later, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to try and make x the subject of this equation. So what I'm going to do, because this thing really wants to be, the inverse function is going to have to involve the base, and the base is the thing that you're raising to a power, which is 5. So what I'm going to do is going to take log base 5 of both sides. So that is going to say log base 5 of y equals log base 5 of 5 to the x, like that. So now you can use our third law of logs to make x the subject here. So we can use our third law of logs to bring the x as a multiplier. So that would say log base 5 of y equals x log base 5 of 5. Now that's quite handy because log base 5 of 5, remember that means the power that you must raise 5 to in order to get 5. So 5 to the power 1 is 5. So this is x times 1, which is just x. So x equals log base 5 of y. So now I've made x the subject. So what that means is that the inverse, so f minus 1 of x equals log base 5 of x, like that. As in, that's what's going to get back to the start. That's the thing that will turn y values into x values. Part b, f of x equals 2 log base 3x. So I'm going to write y equals 2 log base 3 of x, like that. So remember, we're going to make x the subject. We can't go straight for it because we've got that 2 is causing us a bit of a problem. So I am going to divide both sides by 2. So y over 2 equals log base 3 of x, just like that. So now I want to undo this log. So the way to undo a log is you get the base 3 and you raise it to the power of both sides. So raise 3, which is the base, to power of both sides. Okay, so that's going to say 3 to the power of y over 2 equals 3 to the power of log base 3 of x. Now, keep saying it, I'll say it again. This right hand side, log base 3 of x, is the power that you must raise 3 to in order to get to x. So then if I take a 3 and I raise it to that very power, I will end up on x. So the right hand side is x. X equals 3 to the power y over 2. So now you're kind of thinking about changing your variables. So you might say, well, y equals 3 to the power x over 2. But if it was me, I would just say this shows me that the inverse f of x equals 3 to the power of x over 2.